Alright, now that I got done watching the Chip and Dale movie, because before this video is even gonna be made, I recorded some clips of the movie and watched the whole entire movie, but I'm going to be counting down my top 12 favorite cameos that I personally think are the best ones I saw, and the ones that are personally my favorites. So, here's my top 12 favorite cameos in the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie. Alright, starting things off with number 12, we have Baloo from the Jungle Book. Now, not the original movie, the 2016 reboot. I think that's when it's released, 2016. But in the beginning of the movie and near the end of the movie, Baloo in his live action form makes two appearances. The first one is when he sings the famous song Bear's Necessities, and the second one where he's just signing autographs and checking through his phone. And then the main polar bear villain comes along, and he's amazed, and it turns out that the polar bear guy, who is a villain, is a really big fan of Baloo's works. So there's nothing too special about this guy. I just really like the cameo because I found it pretty interesting, and I do like how they used the 2016 reboot design for Baloo in this movie, but the rest are a bit better. But this is still a pretty good cameo. But moving on. Alright, the next guy on our list is a bit more of an infamous cameo, but I still pretty think I really like this cameo because it's a bit funny how this way this one is treated. It's Flounder from the Little Mermaid. Now, it's crazy how they portray Flounder as not living underwater and actually living in an actual house. And it's crazy how they actually kidnapped that fish and bootlegged it. Now, this is a pretty dark cameo because he gets tortured and tortured, and considering the fact that he sounds like he's a kid, and yeah, but the reason why I like this cameo is because it's one of the it's I think personally think this cameo is a bit funny, and it's also a bit of a crazy easy and silly cameo they put in this movie, and it's also to fit the backstory of how the characters were being treated. So that's pretty much that's why I like this cameo. So yeah. Alright, our next cameo on the list is the two donut cops from Wreck-It Ralph's. Now, I don't know who these guys' names are. Maybe my friends will know who their names are, but when they're investigating the crime scene in the movie, these two donut cops from Wreck-It Ralph make a good appearance. Now, this is a pretty good cameo. It only lasts for a few seconds, which some other ones do last for a few seconds. But this is a pretty decent cameo, and I personally find it to be one of the best cameos in the movie. But it's only number 10 because the upcoming ones I do find a bit more interesting. But let's continue. Alright, another cameo that caught my eye that I really did like to catch was the cameo of Doc McStuffins. Now, I'm not a big fan of Doc McStuffins because it's a modern Disney Junior show, but this cameo just kind of blew my mind because they actually put a Disney Junior character show from a show that's for toddlers into this movie, which is pretty crazy if you ask me. Up next to our next and one of the obvious cameos is the cameo of Darkwing Duck, who appears in the post-credit scenes of the movie. Now, it looks like Darkwing's having a bit of a fit and wants to have his own series of his own, and he's throwing a huge tantrum. And that's pretty much how the post-credit scenes, not the post-credit scenes, the black screen with the white credits will scrolls after this scene. Sorry about my starting, I'm not really good at speaking. But still, this is a pretty good cameo, and it's also one of the funniest cameos in the movie because it's pretty much a celebrity begging for fame and pretty much wants attention again. But this is still a pretty good cameo by far. Alright, another one. I think this one is another funny one. Pete, Mickey Mouse's arch rival and probably main nemesis, and sometimes also makes a cameo in this movie when he makes a bootleg Aladdin movie, portraying Aladdin as an ugly character, which is an animal instead of an actual human. But this is a very funny cameo because it looks like Pete is actually wanting to do his job and instead of acting mean. He acts very salted and more worrisome and wants the characters to get out of the way because he's scared that it'll ruin the movie. But this is a very funny cameo, and it's definitely one of the best ones by far. Moving on to number 6 is a cameo that's definitely another obvious one, and it's the first one I pretty much recorded. It's the cameo of Roger Rabbit. Now I would always imagine there would be a moment where someone's watching the movie, seeing it for the first time, and they would compare this a lot to the Who Framed Roger Rabbit movie, and then Roger Rabbit himself suddenly pops in the movie, and then something crazy happens. But I still like this cameo, and it's definitely a good one. Moving on to number 5, we have the mom from Phineas and Ferb. Now, Phineas and Ferb's mom is working at this Main Street thing where it's been said where the tunes were led to be tortured, and this is their secret passageway. It's a shame that Phineas was actually bootleg, so I don't know why the mom is so happy working at a job when she should be worried about her kid. But whatever, it's pretty much how the movie portrays her character, so whatever. I still like this cameo though; it's still pretty good. Another cameo that I really like, but I also find to be one of the weirdest cameos, is the cameo of Randy Marsh from South Park. Now, it's weird that they just decided to put him in the movie because Disney made not Disney. South Park made fun of Disney so many times in very crude ways, but Disney put Randy Marsh in the movie anyway, I guess for money. But it's still a good cameo. Now, this is a cameo I really, really love. It's a cameo of a character that definitely looks like a character from one of the characters in the Pixar movie Cars, my favorite movie of all time. That's exactly why this is high on the list, because, well, it's a Cars character, but the way they actually made it realistic and actually portrayed it as made it as an actual moving car and graphics to it's actually pretty impressive. So yeah, this is definitely a good cameo, and it's definitely one that I consider one of the best. Alright, moving on to number 2, only one more cameo before we move on to my favorite one. It's the ponies from My Little Pony make an appearance in this movie. Shortly after the show ended, they decided to make a fun little joke of the ponies from My Little Pony appearing in this movie. It's actually pretty cool, and I like how the characters look pretty good for this movie. And one thing I did wish is that they had their voice actors to voice their characters in the movie, but I still really love this cameo of Emio. I'm not a brony or a fan of My Little Pony because I am neutral to this show. I used to hate it, but now I'm neutral to it. But this is still a great cameo, and it's definitely one of the best ones I've seen in the movie. And finally, moving on to my favorite cameo in the whole entire movie, which is none other than the big man himself, Ugly Sonic. Now, fun fact, Ugly Sonic wasn't originally going to be in this movie. It was originally going to be Jar Jar Binks, but which which almost made Ugly Sonic unlucky since he also was going to be since he wasn't going to appear in another movie, but it was the last minute decision and he got lucky to appear in this movie. But there are a lot of reasons why I consider Ugly Sonic my favorite cameo in this movie. His comeback is pretty cool, aside from his ugly look, but his ugly look doesn't stop him from being a good cameo, and in fact, he has a cool voice, and he's actually also a very, very funny character. I actually made a Go Anime video out of it, and it's actually pretty cool. But Ugly Sonic is a really funny and entertaining character. He's definitely an awesome character that I really like in this movie, and he might be my favorite character in this whole entire movie because of how awesome and funny he is. I mean, sure, he is ugly and he did ruin the Sonic, but he is definitely a good cameo and definitely the best one for me, which is why he is my favorite cameo ever. So ending off with one final question, what's your favorite Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers cameo? Let me know in the comments. But that's it for this video. This was a so far really good movie to enjoy, but I'll see you all in the next video, and peace out everyone.